advance ako mag-isip.
Kung si Duterte, wala na. Finish na.
Your road, you know. Obvious ba?
Listen, look, and listen, and learn.
Sounds familiar? If you have ever lived in the Philippines, then it would not be hard to recognize these contemporary gems. Long has our brand of comedy delighted the world. To them, we are the resilient underdogs, the ones who find humor in anything we see. However, a question should be asked. Is this narrative accurate? Is this the identity where we as Filipino people want to position ourselves in the long run? Hello one and all, you are once again listening to the Musings of Mars, and in today's episode we talk about Filipino memes, the collective identity, and the myth of Filipino resiliency. There will be 3 parts to this segment as we try to answer the question, what do Filipino memes say about our culture and identity? Part 1. Meta-analysis of Filipino memes and their collective appeal. There's no going around it. Filipinos have an absurdist kind of humor. Half of our most popular memes are one-liner catchphrases taken from actual news reports, like, advance ako mag-isip, or wala na, finish na. The other half is filled with mispronunciations and grammatical errors in the English language, like, your road, or you do note, or listen, look, and listen and learn. There seems to be different flavors in these, and yet they are still appealing to the Filipino audience. Why is that so? Of course, the first answer is relatability. A meme cannot be a meme if it's not relatable to its audience. But why is this brand of memes relatable to Filipinos in general? It all comes down to our collective identity, the way we as a nation see and present ourselves. Examine the memes. The one-liners came from news reports of awful events. For example, the "Ba't ka nangingistorbo ng tulog? Obvious ba?" catchphrase came from a desperate mother who is lost and camping on a private van. The ones filled with mispronunciations like "your road" or "listen, look, listen and learn" are filled with characters speaking in a language that has been forced upon them by colonizers, and yet soldier on long enough to carry a conversation anyway. In short, it reflects and endorses the Filipino underdog. We see the difficult circumstances and situations the meme subjects have to cope with, and their responses are so deep to the bones relatable to the Filipino experience that they become hilarious. Memes in shorthand reflect our own collective coping mechanism while existing and surviving in a troubled and absurd society in the Philippines. Part 2. Breaking the resiliency narrative. The underdog identity is intrinsically linked with the Filipino resiliency narrative. We as a nation find humor in everyday life and thus can weather any storm or typhoon thrown in our way. Since collective identity shapes our personal ones and vice versa through communication, it's easy to see lots of Filipinos personally perform this. They embody this kind of identity. An example would be the numerous times Yolanda victims smiled huge and wide for the news cameras. Here comes the world news headline of the day, Filipinos' most resilient people. But is this accurate? As years pass, there is a growing identity gap from different sectors about Filipino resiliency. It is but a myth that glorifies and romanticizes the tragedy behind the smiles. It creates an identity gap in me in particular. I do not want to be expected to jump back up from a problem so quickly because I was resilient. I need time and I need space. I need a solution. I need to grieve. Even if I were a Filipino, if I were expected to do these things, it would be exhausting and damaging, mentally and physically. We are resilient because our messed up socio-political environment forced us to be this way. You see this in the photographed smiles of the typhoon victims. Now, you will recognize it in the "obvious ba?" mother who is left homeless and alone in the van with her baby, or in the "your road" girl whose customs and culture are mocked by her 90-day foreigner fiancé. Part 3. Conclusion. These memes I've presented reflect our collective consciousness, as well as our shared experience of coping with hardships in a country located in the global south. It, however, creates a dangerous narrative that overlooks the much-needed solutions to the problems in favor of industriousness or resiliency. It is just as well that positioning collective identities are not fixed. Yes, it is commendable that Filipinos find humor in the absurdity of life, but this should not replace the cry for help that comes along with them.